Welcome, everybody. It is March 30th, 2017, and I am doing a podcast before my wife gets home because that's the way it works sometimes. That's the way the cookie crumbles. So, as you can see, Picard is on here. Stop. Just stop. This council war, and it's just not just the council war, it's the fucking what pisses me off is people don't like to talk about the problem, not just in the council space, but there's a problem in the PC space with fanboys, and people try to differentiate it. It's not, there's no differentiation. The only difference, I think, between console fanboys and hardware fanboys when it comes to PC hardware is that console fanboys have had it pretty good. Console fans in general have had it pretty good. And it's... You choose to get, no matter what platform you choose to get, you're getting a good deal. You're getting a pretty good deal. The PlayStation 3, when it first came out, maybe you can make an argument that probably wasn't a great deal, but over its life, it more than was worth the price that you paid for it. The Xbox OG was a good deal. A lot of really good games came out for that. PlayStation 2, all the way back. Even the Master System and the fucking Genesis were a pretty good deal. So you've always had a really good deal. Even if one company dominated and you weren't a fan of that company and you didn't buy that hardware, you still had probably a pretty good system. The GameCube, the Xbox during the PlayStation 2 domination. The Xbox 360, PS3, even the Wii had some pretty good games if you're a Nintendo fan. In the PC space, for those of you who are not fans of or who do not game on PCs, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, AMD was an extremely disruptive force in the PC market. They were the first 10 gigahertz, I believe. They were doing multi-core before Intel. They were doing all kinds of great during the AMD Phenom days. Back in the Phenom days, they were just better chips in general, especially for content creation. And then AMD made a design choice when it went with its AM2, I think. What was after the Phenom? Was it Bulldozer? I can't remember. It's so fucking long ago. They made a bet on cores over threads. There was arguments, but they weren't. They just couldn't compete. They haven't competed with Intel on the CPU side in damn near a decade. You had the Phenom 2s were decent CPUs, but after that, it's just been no competition. They haven't been able to compete. The 8350 couldn't compete. I actually have an 8350 in my machine right now, an AM3 Plus motherboard, and it's great. It works. It especially works with DirectX 12. It's an 8-core, 8 real cores. Although the OS doesn't see it as that. A lot of programs don't see it as that, but it is 8 real cores. divided up. It's just they made a bet, and in the short term, they were wrong, and they just didn't have the IPC. They weren't producing the same level of quality that Intel was, and that's fine. If you're gonna screw up, you're gonna pay the price, and AMD paid the price. But here's what happened. Intel reached a point where they stopped innovating. We'll get to the GPU side later. They just stopped innovating. These last two fucking just, they've been nothing, right? There's literally less than 5% difference between these last two Intel chips, and it's kind of been like that. It's kind of been the Madden. For a while, they've been just kind of it's just small steps, baby steps, rather than taking the, innovating. And it's been bad for consumers. It's been great for Intel, who's in a bunch of trouble right now financially, though I'm sure that they'll be okay for the foreseeable future. But they're being attacked from two sides. AMD is once again providing a disruptive force, providing quality at significantly less price, especially for content creators. So competing with $1,000 CPU for $500, that's a big deal. I mean, even if you've got the money, and the difference is like fucking percentages, what are you going to, and in the long run, AMD generally does well. It generally plays well for a longer period of time. This is especially true when it comes to GPUs. But they've disrupted them on the desktop CPU market, and Qualcomm is disrupting them on the server side. And so Intel's got two big fights on its side, and the reason why it's got two big fights is because they stopped innovating. They said, we don't have anything to worry about. We're just gonna meh it out for a while, and that doesn't work in the PC marketplace. And I hope to God, whoever, if Intel loses its market share to someone else, whoever takes over that market share looks at what Intel did and realizes you cannot sit on your fucking laurels. You cannot just sit there and expect your fucking competition to be inept forever. Eventually your competition is gonna fucking hire somebody or do something. They may even stumble into something amazing. But eventually your competition is gonna get its shit together. And that's what happened. Unfortunately for Intel right now, its competition got its shit together basically at the same time. AMD is pressuring from the desktop and eventually the laptop, mobile devices, and Qualcomm is pressuring from the server side, and this is so they're getting tag teamed. I mean, AMD is going to have some server side processors out. I believe a 16 core 32 thread. The fuck you need that for? I guess for if you're gonna throw in 128 gigs of RAM and you're gonna run 5 or 6 OSs on a virtual machine. I guess that's the way you want to do it then, right? Anyway, they've kind of just sat there. They're kind of like meh, 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 and they've put out bullshit and they've screwed us, right? So they've kind of just mad it for just like expected AMD to be inept for the rest of eternity until they went out of business, and they expected they just, how were you blindsided? I'm sure they weren't, but that's what it feels like, at least to me, like they were blindsided by Qualcomm. This has been a long time coming, and they decided to drop out of this market. And so Qualcomm, with no competition, and Nvidia is not competition, with no real competition, has decided that why the fuck would we stay here as the dominating force in the mobile market when we could go after the servers. That'll keep us on our toes. That'll keep us innovating. And so now they're attacking Intel's server market, and more competition is better. And hopefully Intel gets off its ass, which I think it will, and starts making better shit and not overcharging people, because they've been overcharging people for fucking 5 or 6 years now. Because if you wanted the best gaming CPUs, you bought it from Intel. If you wanted the best fucking mobile, laptop CPU, you bought it from Intel. I mean, AMD really did some work with their APUs on the mobile front, but on the desktop front, their APUs are, I mean, they're nice. They're nice media center PC. They're pretty nice for media center PCs. They're generally better than Intel's offerings, especially on the graphics side. So there's that. But basically, it's been Intel and Intel overcharging. And Intel's now getting nailed from two sides. Their bigger market, I believe, is their server side, as you might expect. But it's interesting. Let's see what they do into the future. When it comes to GPU, this is even worse, because Nvidia really has no fucking excuse for the way it's unfucking believable that there are so many fucking Nvidia fanboys. This shit has been back and forth for fucking 20 years now. There were stretches where fucking AMD just fucking crushed Nvidia. I remember when the Xbox came out and AMD's products were just so much fucking better than Nvidia's, and I was an Nvidia fan back then. I had an Nvidia GeForce GeForce 3 Ti. I was like, man, I can't wait for this new Nvidia. I've got my old Nvidia card, my MX 4600 or something. I can't remember what it's called. But they just dropped the fucking ball, dude. They dropped the fucking ball, and they sucked. And then they were good, they were better, and then it was just kind of waffled back and forth. AMD made a mistake, and Nvidia capitalized on it, and then Nvidia would fucking put out some shit. The 4000 series, that was a mistake, and fucking remember the X1300 came out. It's what the Xbox used. With HD acceleration, and then they just kind of just back and forth, and it hit a point where people were like, "Oh, AMD's drivers suck. No, this shit has been back and forth. Nvidia went through fucking periods where the drivers were trash too. And so is AMD. Their drivers are pretty good now. But I think the point where things really hit their head was when the 7000 series came out for AMD. That's basically 3 generations ago. And they were inferior, and I put that in quotes, inferior to what Nvidia had out, which might have been the 600 series. But the 600, and maybe it was the 700, and they I'd have to go look. It's been so fucking long. Basically, Nvidia had a fucking didn't support DirectX. First, it didn't support DirectX 12 at all. Then their next versions supported DirectX but left off asynchronous compute, I believe. Don't hold me to this, but they left off a significant portion of DirectX 12. So, even though at the time they performed better than the 7000 series cards, which were the big ones were the 7870 and the 7970, which were a lot of gamers were playing on. There was the longer you had it, the more you realized that Nvidia just, they were fucking with you. And Nvidia has no excuse. Intel has an excuse. AMD was out of the fucking game for almost 10 fucking years. Just out of the game. Completely out of the game. And Nvidia has no excuse because ATI/AMD has been a competitor with them, has been competing with them for fucking 2 decades. Over 2 decades. They've been competing with them for a long fucking time. Since the fucking AMD Rage. Who remembers that? The Rage 128. Who had one of those? I think I had a 256 as well. It's like, are you serious? There's no excuse for some of the shit that Nvidia has pulled on us. Everybody's excited for the 1080 Ti. Guess what, motherfuckers? Nvidia had that card ready. At any time, that card could have came out. That's just an unlocked fucking 1080 that was ready from the day the 1080 released. There's no fucking excuse. The fucking Titan, no excuse. No excuses for fucking charging people all that money and then releasing a new Titan and then charging people even more money for the unlocked version of the Titan that they already bought. And they've been doing this for 3 generations. They've been screwing people for 3 generations now, and they're going to do it again unless people put their fucking foot down. But everybody's fucking buying the 1080 Ti. Like fucking morons. Let's go out and buy this. This fucking card that should have already been out. This fucking card that should have already been out. That cost almost the fucking exact same amount to fucking make as the original 1080. And you're fucking selling people a shitty fucking goddamn card that's slightly better than it for over $1,000. You're gonna wait a year and let all these fucking morons buy that, and then you're gonna fucking release this Ti that you already had. This is the shit. This is anti-consumer. This is true anti-consumer. I fucking was listening to someone argue about fucking exclusives being anti-consumers. I don't believe that shit. Third-party exclusives can be a little bit anti-consumer, but first-party exclusives are the reason. the meat and potatoes of the reason you're buying an individual console. This is true anti-consumer. They're holding back product that is already ready for the market so that they can sell you more expensive product. And when they've reached the point where they're not selling that expensive product anymore, they're going to release this new product called 1080 Ti. You fucking, and then you all go out and fucking buy this shit. And then you wonder, it used to be $500. The most powerful CPUs or GPUs were $500 fucking dollars. That was the top. That was the end. You didn't sell for any more. Every now and then you had some fucking crazy shit that was like $600 or $700. Had a water cooler on it. And Nvidia fucking decides that they're going to create a new tier of fucking GPU, $1,000. We've always had our Fire Pros and our fucking Quadros that were fucking crazy, that were expensive. And it's not even that. See, you could go further back. Nvidia not wanting to use unified shaders. Oh, unified shaders are stupid. How stupid are they now? Fucking dumb. You don't even think about this shit. How dumb was I to think, there, unified shaders? Nvidia doesn't need that shit. That was 2005. 2005, Nvidia was saying we don't need unified shaders. Yeah. They're using them now. They have been. For a fucking decade. Plus. It's unbelievable. And then the worst is Hairworks and fucking all this fucking Nvidia Works bullshit. AMD creates TressFX, which is basically Hairworks, only, open source. And it stops working. It doesn't work as well with Nvidia cards. But guess what? It's open source, so Nvidia can take the open source, they can look at it, and they can put out an upgrade to their driver, an update to their drivers that allows them to work better with TressFX. Fucking The Witcher uses fucking Hairworks, and AMD can't do shit. They can't do shit. They can fucking try and finagle and fuck around with shit and see if they can get it working better. But they're screwed because it's closed. Because instead of using open source shit for whatever fucking reason, a game that was going to be put on two huge fucking platforms using all AMD tech decided that it'd be a great idea to go ahead and use Nvidia Works because that makes a ton of fucking sense. It's unbelievable. That's how I feel. Like, it's unfuck-believable. I just want to fucking punch somebody in the face every time I think about that shit. Nvidia Works is fucking the bane of fucking gaming on the PC right now. Every game that uses Nvidia Works is fucking screwing a third or more of the fucking GPU owners in the fucking market. If it was 5%, it would be unacceptable. It's a fucking third plus. It is so unacceptable to do this. It is unbelievable that they could fucking get away with this. On a level of fucking anti-consumerism, they're fucking right up there with the worst. Right up there with the worst. No excuses. Intel sat on their laurels because they had no competition. You can understand that. There's fucking no excuses for Nvidia. Yes, for a generation, so far this generation, they haven't had anybody competing with their fucking 1080s. But that shit's going to end. They knew that shit was going to end. They wanted to know more about Vega before they released the TI. And that's one of the reasons why they held it back. But there's no reason for us as consumers to fucking be buying a gimped product, a purposely gimped product. That's how I feel about this shit. I just want to punch people in the face over this kind of crap. So I got into the alpha testing of a pirate game. I can't talk about it, of course. But if you're smart and you follow me on Twitter, you may have seen more details. I still did not reveal what this alpha test I was doing is, but when I can, I will talk about it. If you're an insider, you may have also been invited. Insider of what? I don't know. But if you're an insider of something, you may know about this, and therefore you can do this thing. Apparently, if you've been with EA Access since the beginning, they're sending some people these packages with a 2 terabyte hard drive. Not me. I've been with them since the beginning, but I don't know. So we'll see. Anyways, I don't know if there's any other news or if there's anything worth talking about. Michael Pachter. I love Michael Pachter. It is his job to know what the fuck is going on. His job is to talk to people who want to invest in companies that deal with games and give them an idea of, do you want to buy this stock? So he knows a lot of people. He knows a lot of what's going on. But sometimes he says dumb shit. And I'm not getting into it on this, maybe later. But anyways, I want to thank everybody for listening to me fucking rant about Nvidia, because that's my real thing. Nvidia pisses me off. So just stop. Just like Picard. Face palming. Stop screwing us over. Fanboys, stop being fanboys. Look past this shit, man. Look past it. And it's never... If you've got the money and you decide that you only want to be a single console owner, then you're part of the problem. If you've got the money, there's no excuses for you being fucking one console owner. You should own every fucking thing you can get your hands on. I mean, significant. Some people can own 2 consoles. They choose to buy 2 certain pieces of hardware. You know, if your money only allows you to purchase 1 console and you have to make a decision based on the kind of games you like, and the kind of games you like are on one platform or another, you know, that's just a reality. But if you've got the fucking money and you love gaming and you're gonna sit here and be a fucking fanboy and talk shit, then you're part of the problem. If you're over here fucking telling me Xbox has no games, you're part of the problem. If you're calling fucking Sony fucking saying bullshit about Sony, you're part of the problem. If you're talking any kind of shit that's not true, that's factually incorrect, you're part of the fucking problem. And the problem needs to go away. And if that's you, then I'm sorry. Go away. Nobody wants you around. When you grow up, and we all go through that stage. When you grow up, you can come the fuck back. Until then, just fucking stop. It's okay to have a preference, but you fucking dogging the other console is getting out of control. Right? Dogging people for dogging the console, maybe not so bad. I think this is the huge difference between a guy who hates a system and a guy who loves to talk about a system. This is why I don't dislike Crap Gamer. A lot of people hate Crap Gamer because he's a big Xbox fanboy. He spends most of his time talking up his console of choice. And he owns a PlayStation 4 and he plays games on that PlayStation 4. Does he prefer his Xbox? Yes, he does. Does he want it to be successful? Yes, he does. He spends most of his time talking about either the Xbox, or he talks about the fucking the industry and how he feels it's having a negative impact on the brand, or speaking poorly about the brand, and that's his right, dude. You have some crazy people who are supposed to be talking about their console of choice, but every single one of their videos is just one fucking hate about the. I think here's where it bothers me, when it stops being about your love for the console that you like, and it starts becoming about the hate for the console you don't like. Right? So, if we look at Crap Gamer, his videos, he has videos. Analyst says power doesn't matter. Xbox Scorpio won't beat PS4 Pro. This whole fucking video is about not the PlayStation, not about Sony, but about the media. Xbox Scorpio could do. This is about fucking Xbox. This is about the media. Xbox. Exclusives. Complaining about exclusives. Xbox. Sony working on a new PS4 Pro Ultra model. And then fucking Xbox. And he goes around here every now and then, fucking rages against the PlayStation 4. Usually, though, it is almost always raging against the media and what he sees as a bias. I've got no problem with that. There's evidence suggesting that what he says is correct, that the media is. I think for a month it was not in favor of Sony, but recently it's just been all Sony all the time for a long time. Anyways, that's it. Goodbye.